Welcome to PS I Love Me, the podcast. I am your host, Gina Swire, international self-love expert, coach, author, and manifesting queen. And I am on a mission to help 1 billion women fall madly in love with themselves and get everything they want in their life. And that, my friend, includes you. This podcast is for down-to-earth women who love spirituality, manifesting, and laughing at life's challenges. And remember, with self-love, anything is possible. Welcome to Travis, who is I'm going to call you our resident human design expert.
Yes.
Like you live in the place where we all work with self-love, which is kind of, energetically correct. So thank you, Travis, for being here today. I'm so excited to have you. In the time that I've known you, you've given me and my team some amazing, life-changing, actually, human design information of how we can work together. And I know pretty much all of my friends have then booked in with you, and it's amazing to see it snowball. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for the opportunity, and you know me, I can talk about human design all day, every day, and I do. So happy to be here.
Yeah. And I just want to give a little shout out to Amy Batuski, who will connect us. She's an amazing connector, and it's just the most alignment, because not only are you a human design expert, but you're also massively into self-love, and the two together. So when we first met, it was just like, boom, we just got it, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And I think if you know Amy Batuski, you're in the self-love realm, and you just click. So yeah, beautiful soul.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just start then with, just before we started the podcast, we were saying, sometimes people wonder what all these different topics have to do with self-love. So do you want to just briefly outline human design before we deep dive? Because I know you're a deeper layer kind of guy. Before we deep dive into it, do you want to just outline what it is and why it relates to self-love?
Sure. And when I first really came to the knowledge of human design, that's all I would say is it is self-love. It's about self-love. And I think, any modality that we go towards is to get to a place of greater self-love. And so human design is a tool. It's like pretty much getting like an operating manual for your life, and you get to see who you came here to be. So you get a chart that's printed out. So on paper, you could see kind of how your energy works and how you're meant to operate this time around. And more importantly, it shows you who you're not. For my journey, that was so important because I was living a life trying to be somebody that I was not, trying to keep up with people who had way more energy than I did. And really that kind of put me down the path of more self-hate. So when you come to human design, you get to really see who you are, what's reliable, how your energy functions, and then who you're not, where your energy is inconsistent. And when we see these areas of who we're not, we can really just let those go and lean into our natural gifts and what's reliable to us. And when you see yourself in that way, you just can't try to be someone else anymore. So it's almost like it forces you to love yourself because you realize you have no choice. Like, this is who I came to be in this life. And so, wow, look at all these amazing gifts I have. And it's really, you start to fall in love with the consistent energy that you have and the gifts that you were given in this life. So it takes away all of that judgment, and really just, I like to say it kind of forced me to love myself because it's who I am.
Wow. I hadn't thought of it that way, but it is really true. Once you know, kind of like, it's almost like archetypes. And once you know, well, this is how I am supposed to be, or this is how I'm destined to be, you're like, well, why would I try and be something else? Like, that's just a waste of time. It's a hack, isn't it?
It's such a hack, and it's such a waste of time, and even more importantly, it's a waste of energy. when we're living out, who we're not, it's like you put in so much effort and you put in so much energy and you get little in return. You just feel stuck. And then you'll see in human design when you start to embrace those parts of you, and you resonate with your human design. It's not like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be. That's weird. I didn't know that about me. You're like, oh yeah, that's me. I've always known it's me. This feels right. Let's lean into it. And then the flow opens up, and gosh, it's you don't have to put out so much energy anymore.
Yeah, it's a giant permission slip to accept and love
Mm.
yourself.
So, for anyone who is brand new to human design and sat there thinking, "What are these two on about?" How would you like introduce someone to this? How would you get them started?
Yeah, and we were talking about this before we started the conversation, and I've been giving so many kind of brief overviews to human design, and there's 4 types, and all that kind of stuff that you hear all over the place. And I think my strategy now is to like lure people in with more like deep fun stuff.
Yes.
uh which the beauty of human design is really on the surface. You can get a reading done in an hour and it will completely change your life. It could transform everything for you, because we're all very on the surface. But if you wanted to deep dive into it and study it for the rest of your life, you could. So I mean, really, to me, it's like being able to like stick your head through the clouds and see behind, you know, how we function mechanically as humans and how life operates. And it gets very, very deep in the sense of like you really kind of get to see how this all operates. And it's a very logical, practical system, which I absolutely love because it's not a belief system. You get 2 things with your type, and you can literally try them out and see if they work for you. So really, when you come to human design, there's 4 different energy types that all of humanity are categorized into. And these 4 energy types, if you think of them like 4 different models of a car, they're all meant to operate differently, and we all need to drive differently. So when you get your operating manual, you're now putting in the proper fuel and you're turning correctly, and that's like we were talking about earlier. It just opens up all that flow. So really, if you're looking for more flow in your life, if you're looking to align, if you're looking for more self-love, if you're looking for more ease, human design can give that to you in an hour.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Yeah. It's celebrating our uniqueness and seeing how you're different than every other human being on the planet. And when you really understand and embrace that, your life unlocks, and you get everything that's correct for you.
Yeah. And that was an amazing answer. It makes me laugh because people, whenever I do a podcast with someone else, they're always like, "So what's like your definition of self-love?" And I'm always like, it changes
Yeah.
like every day. And every time I'm like, shit, did I nail that? Like it's how
Yeah.
I'm always like, should I have this written out? That doesn't feel like me. That doesn't feel
Yeah.
like a manifesting generator who just comes up with ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first found out about human design, I was in Bali, obvs, and everyone at the table knew about human design. They're all talking about it.
Mm,
And I was like, what? What are you on about?
mhm.
And then they all started taking bets on what I would be, which they all got it right because I
Yeah.
think I'm the most. I think it's so obvious if you know anything about human design what I
Yeah.
am. And yeah, so they were all doing. I was doing it really quick because there's a test online which will link to this, so
Yeah.
anyone listening can do it.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, boom, yeah, I knew it. Although I was a little bit sad that I wasn't a manifester. I
Mm,
was like, wait, I should be a manifester and I'm a freaking manifesting
mm.
generator. That feels like hard work. And then when I got to know more about it, I was like, oh no, actually, this is the best of both worlds. Yeah. So then I started looking into it and immediately got hooked. And as
Yeah.
soon as I took the basic advice for my type,
Mm,
boom, it was like, this is happening. This is happening. I'm
mm,
chilled. I'm relaxed. Everything's coming in.
mm.
And yeah, it felt really, really good. So, one of the things that I love about the way you teach human design is that you make it really accessible. So, no matter what category you end up in, you're not like, you're screwed. Because a lot of reflectors, for example, are like, well, this doesn't sound like I'm getting a good deal, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that you kind
Yeah.
of bring everything in and show all the
Yeah.
benefits, and yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm a projector, a 1-3 splenic projector, and being a projector, we're considered a non-energy type. So, my whole life before I came to the information, I thought I was screwed. We feel like we come into the world with, unequipped to keep up with the pace, and we're not able to keep up with the pace. It's not for the projector. So in a lot of ways, I always thought I was, this life isn't for me and I don't belong here, and we can get very bitter in that way. But the cool thing about being a projector is that we're really here to be guides. And so my life purpose is really understanding every single type and being able to guide them towards their journey. My design is all about initiating others through the transmission of this information to arouse their higher self, to see, consciousness in a different way. That's all built in my design. You could literally read it in that sense. So I love people. My whole world is people. So anytime I get a new chart, anytime I get a new client, it's like Christmas morning, because that's when I get to use my purpose in this life. It's all about the other. So yeah, thank you for saying that. And you're so different from me. You're the manifesting generator, and you're very individual. And it's so, when I see your chart and I look at what you're doing, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so aligned. You have the gate of self-love, and you're all about self-empowerment and being an individual, and all of that kind of vibe. So it's so cool when you see who you are and you get to start living it. Yeah,
It really is. And shout out to our puppies, by the way.
yeah.
If anyone on the podcast wants to watch this on video, there is cute little puppies in both areas of the podcast. So I think they're soaking up the self-love vibes. Yeah.
I would just caution people who are brand new to the knowledge, don't get hung up on the words. They do mean something when you get into it and you start to understand it, then the words begin to make sense. But there's so much, we have so much connotation attached to words in our society, and most of them are negative, So when you come in, before I really found out about it, as you, I really wanted to be a manifester. And I'm like, oh, I've got to be the manifester. I know how to manifest things, and that's not what it means. We can all manifest. We can all start things. We all have energy. Like, we all can create. It has nothing to do with, the connotations that we attach to it in our language. So don't be discouraged if you find out you're not a manifester. Only 9% of the entire population are. So
yeah, great. So when people find out which one they are, and they're like, it probably at this point, if you don't know what you are, you might want to pause it, check it out, come back when you know. And once they know, I mean, to me, it was very obvious, because I read the kind of basic description and I was like, boom, I'm off. I know what I'm doing. Sitting with a load of people who all speak the language, which is a bit like a foreign language, when people are like, I'm a splenic 643297112, and you're like, okay. Which to be honest, like, I love all these different things, like Myers-Briggs, and all the different kind of personality type things, and even erotic blueprints and different things we've talked about in this podcast, because to me it feels really connecting, a bit like star signs. And with astrology, again, that's something that I love astrology. I love knowing about it. And I love it when someone looks at my chart and tells me things, and I kind of keep some of it. But personally, I don't know it all, so when someone comes to me and they're like, I'm a Sagittarius with moon in this and stars in this, and I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. It's like a completely different language, but it still like feels connecting and good. And what I love about human design is that, it is a nice way to connect. And there's whole Facebook and Instagrams just for whatever you are. There's a whole Instagram that I follow just for manifesting generators with like stupid memes, and it feels really connecting. So I just want to say, like, you don't need to know it all. You can have someone like
Oh
Travis
God.
read all of your chart, and yeah, you don't have to know it all. You can just know the basics and it still be
Yeah.
really useful. Yeah.
Yeah, just having that surface. I mean, and when you come to your type, so there's 4 different types. It's all about how your aura operates. So we all have an aura, and it's not, that word gets thrown around so much, but in human design, your aura is literally the mechanical way in which you operate as a human being. It's how you function. So our aura is like our business card, and when you get into a room with someone else, before you even open your mouth, you're exchanging information. People make you feel a certain way. Well, yeah, that's obvious. We can all accept that. So it shows you how your aura functions, and each aura is so incredibly different. And so when you start to see, like, wow, I am a projector. I have a focused and penetrating aura. My aura only works one-on-one. That's it. If I'm in a room with 2 other people, I'm screwed because I can only go from one person or the other. I can't split my energy that way. We're very much designed to penetrate, to be able to see that person at their core. Well, the generator, they're open and enveloping. They can be one of a crowd. You can walk into a room of 10,000 people and no problem kind of take everybody in and out. You can be the life of the party in that sense. So, just knowing how your aura operates is such a relief, and you start to see, like, ooh, okay, how can I lean into that? How could I put that to, better use? And, I used to get really down on myself. Why can't I be the confident guy that walks into the room and like commands a room and like can be the gregarious, talking to everybody, people I looked up to? And I'm like, well, I'm a projector. I'm the weirdo in the corner having the deep one-on-one conversation with you about your life issues. That's what I love, and that's what I'm here to do. So it's again, self-love, accepting yourself for who you are and aligning to it, and just bringing in that flow.
Yeah.
And that's surface. I could tell you in 5 minutes how your aura operates. So you're totally right. We can stay very surface level and have a huge transforming effect on how you go through this journey we're on.
And you know what? When you just started talking about aura the first time you said it, the double doors in this house, oh, by the way, I've manifested living in this mansion with this
It's
puppy.
beautiful.
And just as you said that, the double doors like blasted open and this big blast
Wow.
of wind came through, and they've been shut all day. So I don't know what that was about. I'm going to take it as a little sign. Yeah. So side note, I had a desire because I sold my house and I was like, I don't know where we're going to live. And I was a bit confused, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy a house or rent a house or move countries, and COVID and a million options. And I was just like, what would be really fun? I was like, I really want to like puppy sit and live in a mansion and have everything done for me. That would be my desire. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just, put that out to the universe. So I just put it on my Instagram. Desire, mansion, puppy, London, luxury. Next thing, boom. Do you want a puppy sit for 3 weeks in a mansion in Maida Vale in the center of London with everything done for you and staff? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Wow. It's it's almost unbelievable. And I always think about this, before I came to my design and started living in flow. And I was broke my whole life. I had struggled paycheck to paycheck. I was a waiter. I was really just like grinding, trying to be that person that I'm not. And I would talk to people who were kind of living in flow, and manifesting things, and like really like lit up. Like Amy is a perfect example. And people tell you like, oh, just don't worry about the money, and then the money comes. And at that point in my life, I'm like, well, F you. That's not realistic. It's not. And so going through it myself and coming into my design and starting to live as a projector and watching it happen, it it can happen, people. Like it's the less you do, the more you get. And being someone who's been on the other side and very, very bitter and very depressed and hating life, it's so possible, and it's so cool for me to watch my clients and watch other people just surrender and get everything they want in life.
Oh
It's
yeah.
almost it's almost annoying because we've been taught the opposite. Work harder, grind it out, be better, fix your
Mm.
weaknesses. That's what we've been taught, and it doesn't work. You might get money, but you're going to be so burnt out and miserable the way you got the money in the first place. So I'm telling you, like, it really works when you learn to surrender and let go to who you are. Like, you get everything that you're supposed to get. It's beautiful. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me you're in a mansion in London with the puppy.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that's really inspiring to anyone listening. There's not just one way to do it. And if you've been doing it the way you think you have to do it or you should do it,
Yeah,
human design can actually introduce you to a much easier way to do it.
yeah.
And I have a few friends. I have a friend in Bali who found out around the same time as me that she was a projector.
Hmm.
And she was very much like grind, 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 gotta
Yeah,
make moves. And then all
yeah.
of a sudden she was like, oh wow, like I'm loving this. And it's all about like waiting for invitations and just being in your own energy. And she completely transformed her business, and she
Wow,
made something like 500,000 euros in like 2 months. And
wow.
it was like a bazillion times more than ever. Like, she was struggling, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden it was boom. And
yeah.
she now teaches about human design. So
Oh, amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to
yeah,
Rianne, she's listening.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many stories like that, and I'm just like, wow, great, so good.
We've been lied to, people. We've been lied to. Life isn't hard. It's not always happy. We
Mm,
can be sad and we can go through things, but we're not supposed to struggle eternally through
yeah.
this life. It can be easy. It can be filled with joy and
Mhm.
flow and all the words we throw around a billion times already on this podcast. But it's not. I see the conditioning we've all been put through. At a very very young age, and being on the other side, it's a lie. It's meant
Yeah,
to keep you controlled and stuck in your job that you hate and grinding away forever.
yeah. So I will hold my hands up and say that when I first started coaching, I didn't understand human design, and it wasn't something that I would ask my clients to do. I just didn't know about it. So sometimes I'd be like, yeah, just what do you want? Just decide what you want, ask for it, and boom. And I'm like, why is this not working for them? Am I just
Yeah.
and now that I understand that, oh yeah, they just have a different way of
Mhm.
getting things, I'm like, ooh, yeah,
Mhm.
like it's obviously all perfect, but now I very much look into human design, and
Yeah.
it's so much easier to coach people when you know that
Yeah.
information about them.
And that, I think, is probably the most important thing, because we all need a coach. We all need support in this life, and it's so great to have that. But when you look at, like, Tony Robbins is a classic manifesting generator. Okay, he's doing a million different things. He's got the energy. He's writing a book. He's doing charity. He's leading retreats. That's the manifesting generator. That's you. You have the energy to really be this multi-passionate being and be successful in all those things. So when a projector goes to a Tony Robbins seminar, we're fired up the time we're there because we're being conditioned by all that energy. The second we leave, we're done. We don't have a shot in hell to ever live like a Tony Robbins. So in the coaching space, it is so important. And this is why the surface level, again, just knowing your type and how your energy operates. If you're going to go to a coach, or if you're going to go get help with a business or a relationship, if you're taking it from a different type and you're both unaware, it's not going to work for you. It's going to
Mm,
work for some people. And again, this leads down that path of self-hatred of why are all these people crushing it? Why do they have so much energy? I'm trying so hard. I can't do it. Oh, I'm worthless. I don't work hard enough. I'm lazy, fill in the blank there. So just knowing your energetic type is so important if you're going to work with a coach, or if you're going to work with a mentor of some kind.
yeah.
Um, because we have to be aligned. So you just knowing people's human design, you're not going to tell the projector to work 10 hours a day and to crush it. It just doesn't work that way. So it's so cool.
To be fair, I don't tell anyone to work 10 hours a day.
Well,
But I'm just like, let's make it easy. Just ask God. God will give it to you. God's got it. But I totally get what you're saying. And one time I was kind of making a joke because I'd had like a few clients in a row that were all manifesting generators. And it's like, we have the session, we get excited about it. And then they're like, boom, and this was around business. So they were just like, boom, manifesting clients and, everything's coming in and money and everything, opportunities and podcast interviews and all the things. And I'd made a bit of a joke to one of my friends and just said, I think I'm only gonna have manifesting generator clients because they just smash it. And she was like, oh yeah. And then like a week later, she was like, I just want to name something. I feel like I'm just a generator and I don't really have that manifesting streak. And, I feel a bit like, oh shit, maybe this is why I'm failing. And I was like, oh my God, no, I wasn't meaning like that. Like I coach loads of people. But yeah, I can totally see why she was like,
yeah. And I love that story. There's so much in that little story right there of, when we start to compare ourselves. And this is what, for me, I think, the core of self-love and the core of what human design does. It gets rid of comparative thought and comparison. When you see your chart, when you look at your chart, you're seeing how you're different again from every other human being on the planet. So when you look at two charts together, there's so much difference there. You can't compare. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. It's not logical. You literally can't compare yourself to anybody else on the planet. So when you understand that and you stop comparing, then the only person you're really competing with is yourself. What can I do for me? How am I going to express my uniqueness out in the world? Who can, and this is one of the hardest things to get rid of, because again, in our society, we're taught, who has more? Okay, you need to go make more than that. And, when we start school, it's like, oh, Johnny got an A+ on his exam. You only got an A. You need to be better than him. So we're just immediately taught to compare ourselves. I mean, look, when you're born, oh, he doesn't look like the father. He looks more like this. Where did he get those ears from? I wonder if it's, aunt. So it's like comparison. So human design is so amazing when it shows you are different than every other being on this planet. If you compare yourself, that's delusion. It doesn't work. So who are you going to be in this life, and how are you going to express your uniqueness to the world? And in that way, you literally can't compare.
Oh yeah. This is landing for me. It's landing for me. At the moment I'm working with obviously not obviously, but a few different coaches. I'm always diving into some different topic of life. And at the moment I'm diving into, I am actually a trained health coach and nutritionist and all the things, but that was a while ago. And I just felt like I wanted a boost. I wanted some nudges with health and all this kind of thing. So I'm working with this amazing health coach, and it's all very much about manifesting, and also looking into like family lineages. So it's a really, really deep and interesting look at health, and I'm fascinated by it. And today I had a session with my coach, and one of the things that came out of it, and it's I teach this to people, but it's like the next layer of embodiment of the thing, and the thing that came out of it was that I think really my whole life, my health, or like the way I look, or how fit I am, or how toned, or how much I love my body, has always been underneath it all for someone else. It's like, because then I'll get more love, or then I'll meet the amazing man, or I'll get the modeling job, or whatever it is. It's always been like, I'll do all these things, and it has been like kind of on the surface for myself, but then underneath it, it's been this kind of. So at the moment I'm shifting out. Well, I have shifted out of that to have the realization of like, this is just for me. It's how I feel. It's how I get to show up in the world, in my body, in my expression. And it's that like kind of micro alignment that has shifted. And I think that's kind of what you were going down the path of like, it's not about anyone else. It really is just all about our internal world and our vibration. And I love that.
Yeah, it is hard. It is so hard. And I woke up the other day, I'm like, man, I'm not living my projector life. I'm burning the candle at both ends right now. What am I doing? I'm trying to get more success, and I still compare myself all the time. And oh, look at this person on social, their human design's really taken off. They have way more followers than I do. It's our I don't think that ever goes away. The brain just kind of just churns and churns and churns. So it's not like we need to ever get rid of it or get to a place of like pure zen, which I don't even know if that's possible. But just to have awareness around it, and I can laugh at myself and say, dude, you're on a different path. You're unique. That person has nothing to do with you, and it just makes it easier. And it's almost like a comedy. When you start to see what we do to ourselves and why.
Yeah. Well, why is it?
Yeah.
Why do we do that? I mean, like you said, we're conditioned from school to always be competing and comparing. And comparisonitis but Melissa Ambrosini has just written a new book about this comparisonitis, which I love the title of that. I haven't read it yet, but I can imagine that it's just something else. And like comparison and this self-talk chatter, that literally thrashed me in my teens.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty much a mute because my self-talk was so strong and so nasty and so negative and so degrading and doubting and horrible. I was pretty much a mute from like all of my teens. And then I only stopped because I started drinking alcohol and getting smashed, and then I'd be super talkative. But yeah, it's good. Anyway, so back on to human design. So how can human design, seeing as this podcast has absolutely gone into the most sassy, sexy, erotic, kinky thing ever, how can human design, how can this like manifest and shape our love life and our bedroom life?
Yes, love that question. And I knew it was coming at some point. We talked a little bit about that. So in human design, we have what we call circuitry, which is, I won't get too deep into that, but it's just it's an overall energy that you have. It's your life force energy and kind of, what it holds. So there's a few different types of circuitry, and you can look at pretty much anything from the human design perspective. And lately I've been diving into sex, and it really has to do with that circuitry. So there's different, I'm just going to use the word definition. When I say definition, that means that you have a consistent activation in your chart that is putting out that energy. You have that energy in your chart if you have it defined. It's what you are. It's what's reliable and consistent.
Yeah. So to anyone who's like, they are speaking a different language right now, we have all these different centers that can, in certain people, different centers are activated. And what's the definition part? I've forgotten about that.
Yeah, so definition just means that you have a consistent flow of that energy. So there's certain energies that you're not going to have, certain energies that you are going to have, and one's inconsistent, one's consistent. So the consistent is what we call definition, and that is, again, what you can rely on. This becomes the major theme for your life. This is kind of the energy that you output, how other people experience you through your what we call definition.
Yeah.
So when we look at sexual streams, there's three different streams of sexuality, and the first stream is called tribal. So these are people who are fueled more by need. If you want to think of it, there's a cool analogy about lights. So these are people whose sex becomes more about reproduction. The most important part is this need for partnership, is this need for the bond, the contract, the marriage bond, having support, and really, getting their needs met in a relationship. And then sex is almost secondary. It becomes we'll say with the lights off at the end of the day, focused on reproduction. This is literally, okay, we're in this marriage bond, and part of the contract is that we're going to reproduce to keep, humanity moving forward. So boom, sex is about reproduction in the tribal stream.
Mm.
And as I'm explaining this is all generics. Okay, this is very broad, and think about it. In each person's chart, there's different parts that are activated. Some have all three, some have a combination, and so it can flow, it can move. So these are just overarching themes. Then we get to the individual stream. The individual stream is fueled by passion, and this is more about like being a romantic, kind of staring into each other's eyes. You're wanting to learn about this person, and it's very much associated with being very auditory. So this is music. This is like whispering sweet nothings into each other's ears. This is needing to hear "I love you." That's very important for these people to hear that this bond is still viable because he said he loves me. We have to say these things out loud. This is when it comes to sex, you can think about the sex as lights down low, candles lit, that kind of like romance. But the funny joke with the individual stream is keep talking or else you're going to have sex. Because once the sex happens, and if it's not good, that's it. It's over. The relationship's over. But there's so much buildup in getting to know each other and figuring out who they are, and pursuing and kind of like going through that whole courting process. This is like the people who have this individual circuitry. It's really good. Don't have sex the first date, the second date, the third date, the fourth date. The longer you can kind of prolong that buildup, the sexier it becomes, and then once it actually happens, it's like, okay, it better be good or else it's out. So this is lights down low. Then we get to the third stream, and this is all about the desire for new experience. So the second stream is all about passion, fueled by passion. The third stream is fueled by desire. And this, I hope Amy is listening on this one because this is her whole company. The desire for new experience. And these are people who, it's almost like, well, let's just go with the lights thing again. This is lights on in the cabin of an airplane at 35,000 feet because you want to figure out what's it like to do that, but it's not necessarily repeating the experience. Once the experience is over, it's over. You don't have to, do it the same every time. So these are the people who want to have sex in every single room of the house, on the piano, on the kitchen counter. It's just new experience, desire for new experience. The key with this one, I think, is really to understand that desire doesn't really lead to fulfillment. It leads to boredom and just a need to have another experience, which for these people can be healthy, but to get rid of those expectations with this stream. So when we have these expectations of, oh my God, this is going to be mind blowing. Oh my God, this is going to be crazy and amazing. It might be, it might not be. We have really no idea. And this stream actually goes through what we call the gate of crisis. So when you go from inexperience to having an experience, a lot of times you meet crisis. So this is like, in the airplane cabin, the smoke alarm goes off because it gets too hot, crisis all of a sudden. So it doesn't have to be crazy things, but you will find that you can run into unforeseen crises when it comes to this sexual stream. So when you look at all of these three different streams, you can see, wow, if a very experiential person who has a desire for new experience meets a very tribal person who all they care about is your mind. It's about possession. It's about needing to be in this bond. You can see where the disconnect comes in right there. And this is where, if you think about it, the tribal stream is accepted by society. This is okay. The individual, these are people who necessarily won't. These are kind of people who will fall in love with like a stranger that comes in from out of town. They're living in their own tribe. Here comes a traveler, and now they're very attracted to the traveler. Well, the tribe's not going to really love this guy that just came in, but they'll eventually accept him into the tribe if he's a good dude and she loves him in that sense. when we get to the third stream, this is kind of the stream that gets shamed. This is
Mm.
the stream that's not okay. This is where like you could be promiscuous in this stream or not. But when you see what, how we're conditioned and what society accepts as okay, it's like the tribe, the marriage bond, all that kind of stuff. A little more in between is this individual stream of passion and romance, and then the collective stream on the outside that's fueled by desire, I feel like is shamed. And this is
Mm.
where I love Amy's work, because we all need to tap into our own sexuality and how do we operate, what makes us feel good, and in that way, with that awareness, we can see when we come with another into a partnership with another person or into a sexual relationship, how is it going to work? Is
Mm.
it going to work? Is this, if I want a new experience, this person wants to lock me down in marriage, if we have that sexual experience, it's not going to end well. They're going to feel used, they're going to feel their needs have not been met, and I'm like, I want another experience, boom, on to the next. And that's where you can really see, without the awareness, people shame, people judge, people compare, and our sex lives can be a disaster in a sense.
Mm. Ooh, this is really opening up some interesting thoughts for me. And I'm also, I'm on Zoom all the time with different women and groups and friends who are telling me like this is happening, or my lover is not really thising me, or he's too much
Hmm.
thatting me, and I'm like,
Hmm.
ooh, I should totally get them to check out the human design,
Mm.
because with all of these things, knowledge is knowing. Knowledge is, I was going to say power, but could be
Mm.
hot for this kind of discussion. But,
Yeah.
the love languages is, a simple look at these
Hmm.
things. So to anyone listening, if you don't know your love language and your partner's love language or your lover's love language, that's a good one to look at, because you just basically speak in the same language. And then the
Yeah.
erotic blueprint, which we've talked about before in podcasts, and this is like another dimension.
Mm.
I know that Vincent and I are both manifesting generators. In fact, when we were in Bali, everyone in our house, there were 6 of us living in this abundance palace, we were all manifesting generators.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, so it was called the Abundance Palace because literally
Yeah.
at the moment people walked into our house, like over, it had like this giant koi pool in the front, and you
Mm.
walk through and immediately you were getting messages like, can you do the speaking gig for like £10,000? And have you signed up a new client? It was almost like a joke when people walked
Yeah.
through the door, they were manifesting. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I find it really interesting in terms of relationship, and just
Yeah.
to know what you are, and then you can figure out. So
Yeah.
how do I know which stream of these is me?
Yeah, so that comes with, my training and, being able to read, I could look at a body graph and instantly tell, what stream you have. Well, let me pull, I have your chart pulled up. Let's
Go
get let's
goes
get
the
deep.
chart, looking for evidence.
Yes. So you're all individual. You're very individual, in all of your definition.
Yeah.
So you said you connected with the romance, with the auditory, with the sweet nothings, and the whole, courting process. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, this is funny, Gina, because you have, oh, this might get a little bit too deep, but you have activations in all 3 streams
Cool.
evenly.
Great. Well, I
So
was
you got a little tribal, you got a little, individual, and you have, the desire as well.
I was thinking, in my younger years, like in my 20s, I feel like desire, I was thinking, I wonder if it shifts and changes, but I
Mm,
think, yeah, I think I can be the wifey locked down, wanting to
mm,
reproduce and have the passion and the lights down low and all the things, and have the crazy experiences, but only once kind of thing. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
resonates.
and that's, I mean, it's so cool to pull up your chart and see, because this just proves the point perfectly of it really has to be taken in context of each individual's chart, because we can have all those different activations, and some are even, some are not. And remember, that, human design does pull a lot of it is based on astrology. It's one of the major contributing factors to the knowledge. When we're going through the year, the planets are influencing our charts. This is what we call transits. What's the energy of the planet right now? So you'll see, like right now, we have gate 36, which is the gate of crisis, is going to be activated for the next like 2.5 years, I think. So when you start to see, like, there's different themes that play out as a whole as well. So maybe now you're feeling a little more desire to have new experience, where when that gate goes away or that channel goes away, maybe now it's not there anymore. So there is like, it's so nuanced, but you can really start to play with, okay, what feels good for me? And when you bring two people's charts together, you can really see, okay, is there going to need to be some work done here? Or, with awareness, I really truly believe that you can accept anybody for who they are and be with anybody. There's really no bad. There's just difference. So yeah, it's interesting to see that.
Yeah, because I think I remember you saying your partner was you and your partner were different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, I'm having to like speak a different language, and sometimes
Yeah.
she's like this, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So, and for all the listeners, like, we just went deep, that's very deep stuff. It's stuff you don't really even get to. And when you look at it just from how does a manifestor link up to a projector? How does a manifested generator link up to a manifestor? Just looking at your auras can tell you so much about a relationship. And, the generator aura is so open and enveloping, and when you step in, I feel like, just being with you on this call, I feel held by you, I feel hugged, like we're just taken in this beautiful, loving way. Well, the manifestor has a closed and repelling aura. They're really here to manifest what they want. They don't really need any other input or advice in that sense to do what they need to do. So when a manifestor and a generator comes together without awareness, the generator is not going to feel this warm hug that they know so well. And they're going to think, why aren't they letting me in? Why aren't they loving me the way I'm loving them? Look at all the love I'm pouring out. And it's so easy for them. Like, why am I not getting it in return? So when you understand that basics, you can say, oh, you're never going to feel that from the manifestor. You're never going to feel that from the projector or the reflector. You're only going to feel that from the other generator. So just knowing basically how the auras come together, again, it's so, it gets rid of the judgment, and it puts you at ease. And you're like, oh, okay, it's not that they don't love me. I love differently. My aura really pulls in and hugs people, theirs doesn't.
And
No
I
big
love
deal.
that you use the words "come together," seeing as we're talking about these beautiful sexual things.
I mean, isn't that the point of life? We're meant to be in aura with each other. We're meant to
Yeah.
come together. And the combinations are all unique and all different and all beautiful in a way.
So I got kind of, this whole thing of emotional / non-emotional.
Yeah.
So I'm non-emotional, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And Vincent is emotional. And what I don't know if this is completely true, because I was like, wait, I'm definitely emotional, definitely. But then when I actually looked into it, I was like, oh, right. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this means that if my partner or my whoever has had even like the slightest conflict or emotion come up, but it's not a big deal to them. But if they come into my space, I can be like, holy shit, what is wrong? And they're like, oh, nothing. And I'm like, no, something's really wrong. Like, I'm really feeling, is that right?
Yes. So and again, talking about surface stuff that will change your life, this alone, I think I always lead with this in my readings, because about half of humanity is emotional and half is not. And when I say emotional, we all feel emotions, but we have 9 different centers in your chart, and you'll see if you've already looked it up. One of the centers is the center of emotion and the center of kind of spirit awareness, and it's very rich, deep emotional energy that comes out of this center. Well, you either have it or you don't. So when someone has a center, so like Vincent has the center and you don't, when we're in contact with each other, you actually pull the energy into your open center, and you don't just pull it in, but you amplify it.
Mm.
So this is how we condition each other. So you can look at your chart and like, oh my gosh, I can totally see how I've been conditioned in my life, because these are my open centers. I've been pulling in everybody's defined centers and amplifying them. So emotions are so important, because it's actually the non-emotional people, Gina, who we think, I'm a non-emotional as well, we think we're the emotionally unstable crazy ones, because
Yeah.
we hop around to different people and ride out their emotions in an amplified fashion. So we're like, what's wrong with me? I'm so all over the place. I'm up and down. So just knowing whether you're emotional or not, it's a game changer, because we get to detach from those emotions. So yeah, that's correct.
Absolute game changer.
Game
And so
changer. Yeah.
it's
Tell me about it. I'd love to hear how it's affected your
yeah,
relationship.
so Vincent and I've been really open about this. We had like a complete disaster in the start of our relationship. We broke up, and basically he was having a child with his ex, but we didn't know till we were together, and it caused a lot of problems. It reactivated some deep childhood trauma, because that's basically what my dad did. My dad had a baby with someone else and then left us all. And yeah, it's been a real test of everything. It's been an absolute edge day to day, and a lot of kind of resentment and anger and things to deal with. And so we lived in a 9-month trigger fest, essentially. We triggered the shit out of each other nonstop. And so Vincent, I suppose this is all in his chart as well. When he's triggered, he just needs loads of time, and he's an introvert as well. So he needs space, he needs time. I'm like, I need love, and I need, I need to talk it through, and I need everything. So it's been really quite tricky in on different levels, but knowing this piece of information
Yeah.
is a game changer, because even if it's not a big deal to him, but he just needs some time, but to me that feels like, his life's ending and he's not letting me in on it. But
Yeah.
when I learned this piece of information, I was like, oh no, I'm just amplifying something small in my body, and it feels extreme, and I can accept that. And I'm like, yeah, it's just the way I'm made. It's coming from the stars, and I'm all good, and I can kind of just keep on going. And I have to remind myself, in fact, I'm glad this came up, because it reminds me again. Just let it go. Let him do his thing. It's all good. No one's
Yeah.
leaving you. So that piece of advice that you gave me back
Yes.
then, that
Well,
helped.
and that's the biggest difference, I think, is that they need time. And
Mm,
when so emotional people go through what we call the wave. They're high and then they're low, and it's constantly operating. There's nothing they can do. It's chemistry. We don't have that. So when we're upset about something, usually something happened to us to make us feel that way. Where they can just wake up in a high or wake up in a low. It's no big deal. So really for the emotional, it's take time, slow down, sleep on it. There's this play hard to get energy that we talk about in readings, and it's really like the non-emotional pressuring the emotional into making a decision or wanting to talk about it. That's like the worst, and we just start to amplify. So really it's so beautiful. Give each other space. If you're starting to overreact as the non-emotional, just breaking the aura contact, getting into a different room and taking a couple
mm,
deep breaths, it's gone. You're like,
yeah.
wow, that really worked. Like, I'm just out of the aura, taking my breaths. We do need time apart in that sense, and especially with the emotional. And there's different emotional waves that operate with the different streams of sexuality that I was talking about. So some people, when they're going through their emotional wave, they just need touch. They need a hand on the shoulder. They need a hug. That's it. They don't want to talk about it. That's
Mm,
like the worst thing you could do. Other people need to talk about it. The more of it individual where it's all auditory, they can talk about things. And then, the more experiential, like they need to let go of expectation, or else they really get disappointed. So there's different ways to deal with the different emotional waves based on those streams again. And so much of it's just time.
yeah. Yeah. This is just gold. It's so fascinating that you get well, you have all of this knowledge, and I really hope that all of the listeners, or some of them, maybe not all of them, because that would be a bit crazy for a projector to
Projector
take all in one go.
dead.
But I really hope that if listeners are intrigued by this, or even if you're like, I don't know what they're on about, but I'm curious, having your reading done with Travis is phenomenal, and it gives you so many things to look at and work on and just be grateful for, even, and be compassionate to yourself. And it's a real act of self-love to have a reading. I would say it's an investment as well in yourself. It's one of the biggest personal growth spurts, or what do you call that? Grow. It's
I
a
like that.
fast learning curve.
Yeah, get on the fast track. Yeah,
it's a fast track. It's a hack. Oh, and I'd love to say as well to the listeners, if you are just finding out what your human design is for the very first time, screenshot it, put it on Instagram or Facebook, and tag us both. And Travis's details are in the show notes, because I just love to know, and then we'll be connected as well.
Same. It's like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, new chart.
Yeah, I know.
It's just, it's fun. Yeah, and I would just say, like, have fun with it. Keep it light. We're not perfect. We're not gonna instantly start living, our design 100%. So it's called the human design experiment for a reason, because you don't have to believe a word I say. You can try it out for yourself. Another reason why I love human design is it gives you practical tools. So much of this work is like, just be yourself. And, it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? And they don't really tell you how. Human design gives you but who am I? Why, I'm trying. So human design gives you those two basic tools called your strategy and your authority that you literally can try out in a very practical manner and see if it works for you or not. And, have fun with it.
Yeah. I'm just again going to my strategy is to respond. Yeah. And what's the other one?
There's to respond, to wait for invitations, to inform, and then the reflector waits a full lunar cycle. They're actually the only lunar beings that we have. So your strategy is a really simple tool to align your aura, align to your aura, and let life come to you. I think advice that goes across all types is slow down. Slow down, everybody. Life is supposed to really come to us in a sense, and we're all just like instant gratification and grind it out, and if I don't do it now, someone else is going to do it, and then I'm going to be this and blah 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 blah. So just slow down.
Yes, it's good advice. It's so simple but so poignant, especially at this time when, well, especially in England, everything's opening up again and everyone's like, I need to go out every day. And it's like, wait, shanty, take a breath, let it come to you. So good. Well, I just love how excited you get and enthusiastic you get. What an absolute wealth of knowledge you are. And every time we speak, I'm like, dude, you are good in this. I just love it. And it shines out of you how much you love it. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Gina. And I'm just amplifying all of your beautiful energy, and it's so fun for me to follow you and watch what you can do, because you're truly a special human. And so it's been a blessing to be on the journey together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And what would you say as a closing piece of advice or closing statement to our PS I Love Me followers?
So the man who had the revelation of human design, who put it all together, he would wear different hats that would say funny sayings on them. And my favorite hat, which I got made up, it says, "Love yourself." So if the human, if Ra is wearing a hat that says "Love yourself," that's a deep message, and that's really what human design can bring you in a practical, easy way, where you don't have to struggle for it. You don't have to wonder who you are. It can literally tell you, and like I said, it can happen. Oh, I guess one last thing is it can happen really fast. This doesn't have to be a year-long process for you. It can really change your life instantly.
Wow.
So give it a shot.
Well, I'm getting all the signs from the elements, like literally, as you just said, that part about the hat with the love yourself, there was a huge thunder. I don't know if you did hear
Whoa,
that. It was like,
I couldn't hear it.
yeah,
Wow.
thunder thing. And then
Boom.
just as you were saying that last thing, it can change really quick. I got goose pimples all over as well. So I'm getting all the signs. It's obviously truth bumps. Oh, Travis, thank you so much. Do you want to just end with where they can find you? It will be in the show notes, but just anything you are doing.
Yeah, so I have a new client-facing experience coming called Surfer's Guide to Spirit that I will be dropping on my Instagram when that's available. So the best place to follow me right now is just Instagram. I'm at travis.day on Instagram. You can follow me there, and then when I launch that new offering, you'll be the first to know.
Amazing! That's such a cool name as well. It's very you.
It's I just keep embracing it.
Yeah. And if you are listening on audio, definitely check out Travis is the ultimate surfer dude, like gorgeous, long hair, glowing band, smiley, spiritual, amazing creature. So yeah, definitely check him out in all the ways. And don't forget to tag us, let us know what your human design is. Don't forget, we'll love to know.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you.
If you've loved this podcast, if you have taken anything away, then do everybody a favor and please share it. Leave a 5-star review. This will help us to get noticed, to get seen, and for more of the right people to hear it.